It is a long journey of 60 years. I think since age 14, it became my mission. When I was growing up, Gandhiji's influence was so much. And in one of his lectures, he said, our mission should be each one teach one. And that stuck in my mind. I have worked at the national level in India and international level in the Caribbean with the United Nations, and then came to Chicago. I established International Foundation for AIDS Education, both in Chicago as well as in India. But the last one in Chicago was Apna Ghar. First effort to expand these services beyond domestic violence was Supervised Child Visitation Center, which no shelter had. The women were coming, and so many psychosomatic symptoms. When I analyzed the data, something is wrong. Everybody comes with headache and mental illness or depression. This is how we started looking at the domestic violence, and I asked the question. I have never left serving women and girls in all my capacity. And I am proud to say here now today before all of you that Chicago Foundation for Women was the first organization which gave us a very small grant, but she gave. All this thing is interconnected, how we work together.
Maybe it's that kind of inherited gene that you see certain things and you really want to get involved in making them better. I had to persuade myself that I had that ability. I needed to learn confidence. So I thought maybe I'd like to be a therapist, to deal with the emotional issues that got in the way of learning. I signed up to volunteer in a community crisis center in Bethesda, Maryland. I was trained as a rape victim advocate, and that's what radicalized me. At that same time, I met Lucia Woods Lindley, who was thinking about starting a women's foundation, a private women's foundation. I met Marjorie Benton and Iris Krieg, and the fearsome foursome got together to start raising the money, start organizing for what is now the Chicago Foundation for Women. If our determination was to give women the opportunity to realize their potential, you have to start early. You have to make sure that girls are getting the opportunities to, for education, for sports, for being safe in their communities. And each part of the lifespan, there are different issues that they're facing. When you talk about women's health, you're talking about making sure that girls are healthy and they make healthy choices. You're talking about older women who are able to advocate for their own lives and the issues that are affecting them, whether it be good health care or decent places to live. It makes sense that women aren't just women from 18 to 35 or 45. Yeah, along with the sense of service was a sense of social justice, of the need to work for social justice, and that also came from my family. Incredibly lucky to have worked with people like Iris and Marge and Lucia, and then so many people in the women's movement, particularly in the movement of violence against women.
I think this is really important to stress, which very few people do. When we talk about violence in this city, too often we're talking about young men. Our mission is to dramatically decrease the arrests and detention and incarceration of children and youth in the city of Chicago and beyond. Our vision, our long-term vision, is to end youth incarceration. There's a need for not just relationships to be transformed, but also for structures of oppression to be transformed rather than restoration. Often things were pretty bad before, so we want transformation. I'm also the co-founder of the Chicago Taskforce on Violence Against Girls and Young Women, and through that we're trying to bring the voice of girls and young women into policy discussions about violence in Chicago. I'm very, very big on youth-led and adult-supported work. I think that we need to tap into the brilliance and the passion and the energy of young people if we're going to make transformation in the world, if we're going to change the world, especially if we're going to change the world as it relates to how young people live. They have the answers for how they want to transform their own lives. They need to be at the center of interventions that are supposed to target them, right? They have to have a role in, not just a role, but a central role in designing those. And what I've learned over the years is that a lot of things that I thought I knew about being young, because I had been young once, don't necessarily apply to this current context or to the lives of the very many different diverse kinds of young people that I get to interact with. I come from a different place. My social location is where it is, and so I don't know everything. And so it's been really a great pleasure and honor and privilege in my life to have learned from young people, to be able to support them better.
To me, it seems unjust that your life and your survival would be dictated by your pocketbook. Time and time again, when we think about what goes wrong with the healthcare system here in the U.S., it often comes back to healthcare disparities. And Chicago Breast Cancer Taskforce has as our mission to eliminate racial, ethnic, and class disparities in breast cancer. We have a lot of relationships, and we certainly forcefully argue and encourage organizations here in Chicago to be involved in a fair share. So for those organizations that have more resources, to give more. Many of the issues that I have worked on relate to women's health care and also access for girls. From the times of when I worked in domestic violence clinic onward to family planning issues, expanding the Illinois Healthy Women program, expanding the Illinois Breast and Cervical Cancer program. Those are all programs that help women. We fully understand that it is important that women come together and that they join hands and they access health care and they encourage each other, and that I think is very fundamental about women. Women are always good at coming together, and in the last 2 years, area hospitals have donated over 2,300 free mammograms to our programs. And for all the women that were identified with breast cancer in our programs, we got them to more gold-plated Commission on Cancer accredited treatment programs. A lot of women that we interact with are busy working for everybody else in their family and not necessarily taking care of their own health care. And so we try to encourage women to understand that our own health care is important to our families. If we're sick, the family will also suffer. It's important for everyone in the community, men, women, children, to support each other as we go forward to a healthier life.
We're dealing with issues that impact youth. Youth should have the larger say on what is happening. I'm on the board of the National Runaway Safe Line. I co-founded QYES, which is Queer Youth Exploring Spirituality. The organization that I represent is the Illinois Safe Schools Alliance. I am 17 years old and I attend Walter Payton College Prep. I am a senior. I heard about the Illinois Safe Schools Alliance from a friend named Zach. Didn't know many of the terms that they were talking about. I didn't know what, preferred gender pronouns were or what it meant to be cisgender. It really opened my eyes to this whole new world that I didn't even know existed. It made me realize, look into the privilege I have of being straight and use that as an advantage to be an ally for people who are discriminated against and oppressed and ostracized in their communities. Great thing about the Alliance is that it attracts LGBTQ youth who might not be getting the support that they need. The Youth Committee is currently working with CPS to pass some guidelines to support transgender and gender nonconforming youth in CPS schools. I have the ability to support someone else and to help someone else. There's so many other wonderful people who can do wonderful things, and if I can support them to get to that place, then they can do wonderful things for other people. It will be amazing.